Okay, then we've got these bags. Sometimes you can get these things to pull the string and they open up. They needed some sort of colour coded string so you pull the right string or something there. And oh wow, we got some nice chunky charcoal of the right sort of roughly size, you know. A sort of inch by 2 inch, 1 inch by 2 inches sort of thing. I don't mind something like that would work, but that's going to be pretty heavy to slowly build it up from the sides. But this is the idea. I've raised the tripod a little bit so you get a better overview, I think. Maybe that's the wrong idea, I don't know. Or maybe you want it from a different angle, I don't know. But we'll see. You get bored with the same angle, don't you? Well, I do anyway, don't you? So we'll see how we go. I've still got a spot culling that might be wrong. Too far out or something. So the idea here is to use as little of this as possible. You might want to try Tolopo because it breaks down so much more, but we want some support initially anyway to get these things to, maybe we can get away with 3, maybe the case of dividing and conquering sort of thing on the sides. I don't know if we can do that sort of thing very quickly. Just, you know, use the old origami skills. No, I don't think the origami skills are going to work on this, fellas. No. Yeah. There's some bloke in Japan throwing this up in the air and cutting it with a blade. Oh yeah, things are going on at the moment. Yeah, maybe on this side like that, I don't know. Do we wet it down? I can't remember if we wet it down or that makes it weaker or stronger, I can't remember, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, we may need to cover little bits and bobs. I don't know, we'll give it a go sort of thing. I'm trying to use as little of this as possible, but you know, it's like a lid on a container. If you totally cover up the sides, it will support, you get better support sort of thing. So anyway, we'll see how we go. It's an initial test run, fellas, but we'll try putting some of these bits in, and I mean, if we start with a big heavy piece in the centre, it's going to sink down, you see. But oh no, not bad. But how the root's going to grow through that, you see, if they get down to that sort of level. So we want to have a look and just pick and choose sort of thing. Put some of these on the side sort of thing, and slowly go round and build up to the centre, I would think. But maybe that's not the case. So we'll just see what we've got and see how we go, and hopefully we'll slowly build up from the edge and work towards the centre sort of thing. And once it's all supported there, we can put the sand on top. And I think what we learnt from last time, once you get going, you're all right. It's just getting started that's the hard bit. Get rid of the signage, even though they are quite good tubs. I remember when they first came out, they used to be super duperly expensive. But oh, now we got bloody Alex Jones going on about bloody Asian flu and all that thing. I mean, it's just an excuse not to go out and pull Hillary Clinton out of that bloody chimney because you might catch Asian flu. Or don't go out and actually do some social justice. Ooh, I think that's going down, so we need to start putting something in the centre, I think. Yeah, so the idea is build up about an inch or so. Yeah. I was hoping for hand side pieces, but it's a learning experience sort of thing, you know. And we'll start building it up. So this will go down into the polystyrene, and set the red organism should go down at least halfway down the but then be enriched by the paraffin candle on the bottom. So if we put the paraffin candles through the polystyrene, I like poke them down, that will be inhibitory, much more inhibitory. It will take longer for the organism to actually trigger off and build up sort of thing. And we got things like that, and roots can go between things like that, and we can break them and, yeah, have some fun and games, you know. It's a learning curve, fellas. It's a learning curve. And yeah, you might want to break up some of these big bits. Yeah, do some coverage there on the outer sort of thing. I mean, get your own bag of charcoal and do yourself some learning. So, it certainly is a lot cheaper than buying bales, imported bales of peat. That's the trouble with our country is, one, it has to be imported, and two, when things get imported, they have to be sprayed, doused and all that sort of stuff, because without our native flora and fauna, so it might endanger native, so we've got to be overly precautious sort of thing, and go from there sort of thing. So I think that's about the density I want. Just build it up over here to the same sort of density, and this sort of thing. And then we'll go for this crappy sand sort of thing, because I don't know what happened with this sand business. There's some bloody kid on some bloody summer holiday job and didn't know what he was doing, or they ran out of one fine, quarry of fine sand or box of fine sand or something, or they forgot it and they thought it was the end of the day or something. They thought, oh bugger, it's not going to make much difference. Yes it is. All the kids in the play pit are going to get scratchy and itchy bottoms from it. It won't matter, and it will be detrimental, because I'll be talking about this for years, I reckon. But it might be a positive. You never know. You never know. We might learn that that the rough sand is good overall in the end, I think. But we'll see. So I think now it's about the time. So we'll have a depth of sand now. This will sink down a little bit. We'll have some sand on top, and then we'll have enough space for the organism to grow up through the sand. So normally you want to, the sand itself is somewhat inhibitory, I've discovered, but not so if you can actually get some polystyrene into it. Remember, large chunks of polystyrene are better than small. So all this, I was probably doing myself a disservice grating it over all the years. Probably because water stays on the outside. It does absorb a little bit of water. You might want to measure how much water it does absorb, and over time it probably does absorb a lot more than you think it does. But we worked out that the volume of the prilling is roughly 50-50. So, if you've got like a 2.4 litre container, half that volume will be the polystyrene, the other half will be any water. So basically it will store slightly over a litre of water between the interstices of the polystyrene foam prilling, and also somewhat into the polystyrene itself, and over time probably a little bit more than you think it does. But we'll see how we go. But it's just a trial run, and I've been doing some experiments, more experiments again with the perlite, and it's slightly pinking on here, but we've worked out basically that once it goes below 28 degrees, down to half 28, which is 14, down to 7, which is half 14, which is below the magic 8 degrees, it really slows down almost in proportion. So normally around 28 degrees it takes 9 days to pink and redden up sort of thing. Half that, it takes twice as long. And so basically you go from 9 days to a month to 6 weeks basically, so depending on how cold you're getting sort of thing. So as I said before, it basically is telling you to actually set this up before you put the plants in it, pre-seasonal. You almost have to have a pre-season, I would say. So anyway, I think that's enough to get us going sort of thing. Now I'm going to cover it with some of this so-called crappy sand, the play pit sand that isn't play pit, because I don't know what went wrong. They just ran out of the fine stuff or something, and they thought, oh bugger, it's not going to matter too much. So we got half a pallet load to a pallet load of. So I'm going to have to go to other places and find old bags if I can. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Now the sand shouldn't fall through because we got the paper there sort of thing. So it will fall through the charcoal down to the paper layer, but it shouldn't go too much initially anyway. And of course it'll be wettened down over time sort of thing. and then so that the organism will build up in the charcoal and down into the polystyrene that's generating the reductive flammable gas when it gets wet. But the idea is you've got to keep the charcoal anaerobic, so that's the idea. The charcoal doesn't work unless the organism is basically an anaerobic organism. So this idea of swamp plants is being swampy is being anaerobic, but not necessarily. As I said, you can get strict anabiosis on a rusting nail, not a rusty nail, but a rusting nail, one that's actively rusting. You can get Clostridium, which is a strict anaerobe growing on a rust. That's why you get tetanus from rusting nails, not from rusty nails, necessarily. Use of the word necessarily there. So you might want to build it up a little bit because it's probably going to sink down. The charcoal and the sand will sink down, not just pressure, weight, and conglomeration of void space sort of thing. Eventually, and as things get wet and move around, and so you might want to think about that. But we're going to stick it up on the bench and let it get rained on. Hopefully we'll get some more heavy rain this week and it will settle in, and it's going to take longer than 9 days to. It's going to take at least a month to 6 weeks to establish, I would say, at these sort of temperatures, unless it starts warming up. But they're saying the last 3 years have been weird. We had the no-seed set 3 years ago of the glid out of the site towards the end of the season, but it dried off too soon. Last year we had the driest, I think, May or June on record since 1839, and this year they're reckoning we're going to have the coldest wet or winter on record since records were kept in 1839. So we may actually get some snow on the top of Mount Lofty. Normally, if we do get snow on the Mount Lofty, it's every 5, 10, 15 years, and it's only for half a day. But then every 25, 50, 100 years, and we haven't got records going back much more than 100 years, I think, since 1839, you can get snow for 1, 2, 3 days. Whether in past 10,000 years ago they had a period where they had 2 weeks of snow on Mount Lofty and it got really cold, I don't know. It was just a glitch, I don't know. Or there is a 100,000 year cycle or something. We just don't know yet until we dig into all the... We're a young continent from a civilization point of view, but we're an old continent from geologic and So there we go. I'm just going to put it up on the table, up on the bench there, and we'll see how we go. It's a trial run, fellas. I might do another one where I put perlite down the bottom, depending on how this goes, But again, with the perlite, doesn't work unless it's filled up with moisture in the actual perlite. It has to be anaerobic, and the trouble with the perlite is the water falls out of the granules of perlite too easily, and therefore it doesn't stay, in quotes, strictly anaerobic sort of thing, and therefore the organism doesn't grow. It grows really well when it's submerged in water, in other words, swamp conditions. It grows really well and maintains itself. But as I said, the organism is very unusual from a microbial point of view, really.